A mother, a missing child, and a tangled web of lies that left more questions than answers. This is the story of Caylee Marie Anthony, a 2-year-old little girl who vanished without a trace, and the mother who refused to tell the truth. But here's the most chilling part. Some of the most damning evidence in this case wasn't discovered until months later, hidden beneath layers of lies, manipulation, and forensic discoveries that still puzzle experts to this day. Tonight, we're diving into a case that has haunted the public for over a decade. A case filled with deception, contradictions, and a verdict that shocked the nation. Stay with me until the end, because there's one particular detail in this case that will make you question everything you thought you knew. The Anthony family. A tense household. Caylee Anthony was last seen alive on June 16, 2008. Or at least that's the last time we know for certain that she was alive. She was living in Orlando, Florida, with her young mother, 22-year-old Caylee Anthony, and her grandparents, Cindy and George Anthony. By all accounts, Caylee was a happy, bubbly little girl. But behind the closed doors of the Anthony home, tensions were rising. Caylee and her mother, Cindy, were known to have a volatile relationship. They argued often, mostly about Caylee's lack of responsibility and unstable lifestyle. Cindy often took on the role of Caylee's primary caregiver, while Caylee maintained a party-going lifestyle that frequently kept her away from home for extended periods. Caylee's relationship with her father, George, was equally complicated. A former police officer, George had a strict, authoritative nature, which often clashed with Caylee's defiance. Over time, Caylee developed a habit of deception, lying about small things, then larger things, until it became second nature. Experts believe that her compulsive lying was a learned survival mechanism, possibly a response to unresolved trauma. Later, during her trial, Caylee's defense team introduced a shocking claim that she had been sexually abused by her father, George. According to their argument, this alleged abuse led to Caylee's pattern of compulsive lying and emotional detachment. While George Anthony has vehemently denied these accusations, and no concrete evidence was ever presented, it remains one of the many disturbing allegations that surrounded this case. The 31 Days of Silence Caylee never reported her daughter missing. Not for a day, not for a week, but for an entire month. Instead of searching for her child, she went out clubbing, posted pictures on social media, and even got a new tattoo on her shoulder that read, Bella Vita, Italian for beautiful life. So, what happened to Caylee? And why was her mother acting as if nothing had changed? During these 31 days, Caylee was seen living a carefree life. She attended parties, stayed at her boyfriend's apartment, and showed no signs of distress. Friends later testified that Caylee acted completely normal, even cheerful. When asked about Caylee's whereabouts, she gave vague answers, often mentioning that Caylee was with the nanny, Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. But no one had ever met this supposed babysitter. Her friends later recalled that Caylee never seemed concerned about her daughter. She spent time shopping, getting her nails done, and socializing. One friend even remembered Caylee discussing a new job opportunity at Universal Studios, which would later turn out to be another lie. Meanwhile, Cindy Anthony, growing more and more suspicious, began pressuring Caylee for answers. And then, on July 15, 2008, everything changed. The 911 call that changed. Everything. The truth began to unravel when Cindy Anthony made a frantic 911 call. My granddaughter has been missing for a month. There's something wrong. It smells like a dead body in the damn car. Those words, "It smells like a dead body," would become one of the most chilling pieces of evidence in the entire case. Because when authorities arrived, They quickly realized something was very wrong. Caylee Anthony spun a web of lies almost immediately. She told officers that Caylee had been kidnapped by Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, a babysitter Caylee claimed had been watching Caylee for years. But there was a problem. Zenaida did not exist. Police searched records, addresses, and employment history. There was no nanny. It was a lie, and it was only the beginning. But Caylee didn't stop there. She claimed she worked at Universal Studios and led detectives through the employee entrance, down the hallways, until she finally stopped, turned around, and admitted she didn't work there. For 2 years, she had lied about her job. At this point, investigators knew they were dealing with something far more sinister than a missing persons case. Then, they found the car. The car Cindy had mentioned in her 911 call, the Pontiac Sunfire Caylee had abandoned. And inside the trunk, forensic teams discovered a horrifying truth. The scent of human decomposition was undeniable. A hair strand was found, one that belonged to Caylee and showed signs of decomposition. And, the biggest clue yet, traces of chloroform. Why would chloroform be in Caylee's car? And here's where things get even more chilling. Caylee had searched for how to make chloroform on her computer. She also searched for neck breaking and how to suffocate someone. It was damning evidence. The discovery of Caylee's remains months passed with no sign of Caylee. Then, on December 11th, 2008, a utility worker made a grisly discovery in a wooded area just a mile from the Anthony home. Caylee's tiny remains were found in a trash bag, her bones scattered from months of exposure. But the most disturbing detail was what was found on her skull: duct tape, positioned across her nose and mouth. Forensic experts examined the remains closely. The decomposition process made it impossible to determine an exact cause of death, but the placement of the duct tape strongly suggested foul play. It raised a horrifying possibility. Had Caylee been silenced in her final moments? The prosecution believed so. Investigators also analyzed the vegetation surrounding the remains, determining that Caylee's body had likely been there for months, possibly since the day she was last seen alive. The location itself was significant. It was an area near the Anthony home, a place familiar to Caylee. Was it just coincidence? Or had Caylee been discarded so close to home by someone who wanted to keep her disappearance a secret? The trial and the verdict that shocked America. The trial itself was one of the most watched in American history. Over the course of 6 weeks, prosecutors presented evidence that pointed to Caylee's guilt. Witnesses testified about her erratic behavior, her lies, and the smell from her car. Forensic experts explained the hair strand, the decomposition, and the search history on Caylee's computer. But Caylee's defense team pushed back. They introduced doubt. No direct evidence placed Caylee at the scene of Caylee's death. No cause of death could be determined. The defense argued that the media had turned the case into a spectacle, and that Caylee was being unfairly vilified. The public was outraged. Protests erupted. People were furious that justice had seemingly not been served for Caylee. The jurors later stated that while they believed Caylee was responsible, the prosecution had not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And in the American legal system, that was enough for acquittal. The legacy of the case. If you found this case as unsettling as I do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories. It helps more people discover these cases and keeps the conversation going. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe and good night.